got to rebehave. Got to learn how to live with it. I want my wife back because it's wonderful. It's wonderful. We've been married 23 years. It's lovely. I don't know how many of you just got married, maybe 2 years, maybe 3, maybe 1 year, maybe a week. But it's wonderful. And don't be afraid to argue. I don't want you to make up an argument, but just don't be afraid to argue. You know, when you're newly married, you get so you're afraid to argue. Oh God, is this it? Is this going to be this? No, argue, let it out. First 2 years of our marriage, I had a ball. I had a ball. Because I'd look at my wife when I wanted to, and I'd say, row! 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 Tears run down her cheeks, and she'd run upstairs and slam the bathroom door. And I'd sit downstairs, and I'd say, row, row. Row, 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 row. I don't know what happened to her in the 3rd year. I don't know what happened. The communists got to her or something. But I remember distinctly, I looked at her and I said, row! And she said, harr! Things haven't been right since. And sometimes, marriage, living with a person, you don't have to have conflict. You know, you haven't had an argument in 3-4 months. And last night was just wonderful. And you wake up and you look at your mate and he's the dumbest looking thing you've ever seen in your life. And he isn't doing anything, he's just there. But he just looks dumb to you. And you get angry with yourself for marrying somebody who looks this dumb. And he sits up and smiles. Oh, how are you? Looking dumb, smiling. And you go downstairs angry with yourself because you got to live for the rest of your life with somebody that's dumb. You can't understand it. And he comes downstairs smiling and looking dumb. And he's got the nerve to say, what's the matter with you this morning? What is the matter with me? Why is it that there's always something wrong with me? How come there's never anything wrong with you? You know, you need to see a psychiatrist. But my mother and father, smooth, man. Don't argue long. And some people say, well, they're old people and they don't want a heart attack. No, that isn't it. That isn't it. It's just that I would imagine 50 years, after a while, you learn what you want to burn your energy on. Because I hear the two of them talking to each other, and they will give up on a great opening. And you know that's the fun part of life, man. Your wife leaves an opening like that, you drive right on in, man. Turn that thing around and grate it till she says, ow. But my mother and father won't even pick it up. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. They came to my house. My father took his hat off, put it in the chair. My mother sat in the chair next to him. Dad went over to the children. Here's some money for you, and the money for you, and the money for you, and the money for you. Came back, sat down on his hat. My mother's looking at him. So my mother said, you just sat on your hat. My father said, I know it. That was it. Now, if I left an opening like that for my wife, first she would have done a half hour of eye rolls and arm waves. Time for him to leave. My father stood up, picked up his hat, did not fix it, put it on top of his head with the lumps and the dips all in it. My mother looked up at him, took his arm, they went out the door. My wife would have done another half hour. If you think I am going out the door with somebody with a hat on looking like that, you've lost your mind. I'm riding in the car with him. Father's driving, my mother's sitting on the passenger side. My father goes past the turn, 2 miles. My mother's sitting up front like this. I'm in the back like this. I said, Mom. She said, yes. I said, didn't Dad go past the turn? She said, yes. I said, well, why don't you say something to Dad? My mother said, your father knows what he's doing. My wife would have done a half hour on me. Would you please pull over so I can get a bus or a cab or something? I'd like to ride with somebody who knows where they're going. You know, this area has already been discovered.